All right, I think we're good to start. So, first of all, welcome everyone to our second session, part of Python series that we're doing with the Developer Society. I welcome all of you, and I think that you'll find this session very beneficial. Um, as we discussed in our description, we will probably do a recap from last time, what we did in terms of basics of Python, and developers society will then take us more deep and delve into some of the topics that they will go through today. um, I'll hope that you'll find this again very beneficial, and if you have any questions or any feedback, we'll post the feedback form at the end of the session, so you can put comments, what you thought about the event, and what would you like to see in the next event possibly. So now I'll give it to Guillermo and Alex. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Guillermo, and I'm the president of the Developer Student Club. And I'm going to be giving this workshop today. So I hope you all enjoy it. And just a note, during this presentation, please keep your microphones muted. And if anyone has any questions at any time, please just pop it in the chat or unmute yourself and just ask us. We'll do our best to answer your questions. Also, this session is going to be recorded and it will later be posted on our social media channels. So if you miss anything, you can always go back to it and just rewatch it. So yeah. All right, so this is today's agenda. We're going to go through a quick recap of what we did during the last workshop. I promise this won't take more than 2 or 3 minutes, hopefully. We'll also dive into Python collections. So we're going to talk about lists, sets, and dictionaries. We'll get onto this when we get to that point in the presentation. We'll also talk about input and output to files. We'll also learn the basics of Python libraries, and then it's just going to be questions and answers, and we'll explain what's next for the next event. So yeah, the quick recap from the last workshop. This is one of the examples that you had at the end of the last workshop, and I'm just going to go through the code line by line and explain every single line of code and what it does, so you guys are up to date and refresh a bit your memory. So as you can see at the beginning, we're defining a function called findMax that takes as an input a value called numbers. And then we're setting that max value to 0. So it starts from the lowest possible. And then we go through a for cycle. So this means that for every number in the list of numbers, we're going to check if it's bigger than max. If that's the case, then we just replace max by that number, guaranteeing that by the time that we end the for cycle, we get the maximum number in that set of numbers. At the bottom here, you also have the declaration of numbers. So we're creating a list of numbers and with a bunch of random numbers. And then you have the print function that just calls the other function to print the final max number. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Now let's move on to Python collections. So collections in Python are essentially containers that are used to store collections of data. The ones we'll be talking about, as I said, it's going to be lists, sets, and dictionaries. So now moving on to lists. Lists are generally ordered. So if you add a new item to a list, the item will always be placed at the end of the list. This means that you can access them by index. So each item has a certain position on the list, and you can request at any time, for example, I want the item in the position 2, and this list will return you that item. Although lists are ordered, they also have methods that can change that order. So for example, they have a sort method that allows you to sort the list by numerical or alphabetical order. Yeah, we also say that lists are changeable. And what we mean by this? We mean that we can change, add, and remove items from the list at any time, even after it's been created. Since lists are indexed, so you have each item has a certain index or a position in that list, you can have duplicate items without any problem. Yeah. Now let's move on to sets. Sets are unordered, so this means that they can appear in a different order every time you use them, and they cannot be referenced by index, like lists can. So it's a bit of a chaotic mix of values. Sets are unchangeable, so as soon as you create a set, you can't add or remove any items from it. And sets can't have two items with the same value, because as I said, they are not indexed like lists. Now moving on to dictionaries. When talking about dictionaries, we tend to say that they're ordered. This means that the items have a defined order that is the order that you define at the beginning when you're creating them, and this will never be changed. They are also changeable, so it means that you can change the values and add and remove items from that dictionary. And dictionaries do not allow for duplicates, because as you will see a couple slides ahead, for dictionaries you need to have key and the value for each key, but more on that further down the slides. Now I'm going to show you a bit of the code that goes into creating collections in Python. So here it's how you would declare a list in Python. You just give whatever name you want to your list and equal it to the squared brackets, and then just put items inside of that list. So in this case, we're putting words. We're doing apple, banana, cherry, and apple. And then we're just outputting that list. And as you can see, the output is apple, banana, cherry, apple. As you can see, lists allow for the duplicate values. So it allows me to have 2 times the apple value without any problem. Which is not the case in the sets. When you declare a set, it's pretty much the same as a list. But when, as you can see here, if you try to put 2 times the same value, so for example, apple, the set is going to refuse to accept those 2 items as they are counted as the same, and it will just ignore the first one. Yeah. Now, this is how you declare a dictionary. It might look a bit intimidating at first, but I promise you it's really simple. So the way it goes is key values. So for example, this is the dictionary for a car. So the car has a brand, so that's the key, and the value is going to be Ford. The car has a model, that's the key. The model Mustang is going to be the value of that model, and so on, so on. Yeah. And you can print it the same way as you would print a list or a set. Now let's move on to input and output files. So in Python, we have a very simple way to read a file, or to open a file in this case. You just name it whatever you want. Usually we name it F for file, and you just equal it to open, and then the name of the file, and R. In this case, R is the reading mode. We'll talk about modes in the next slide. And in this case, we're just opening a file called file.txt, and we're printing what's written inside of the file. So as you can see, the output is going to be this text was in the file. Now, moving on to file modes. Whenever you open a file in Python, you have 3 major modes. So you have the read mode, which is it's R, and it stands for read. This is the default value when it comes to opening a file, and it allows you to read the contents of that file. Then you also have the A mode, which stands for append, and it allows you to append information to the end of the file. So for example, if your file contained a book, you could append a new line to the end of the text in your book and just keep adding to that book. For the W letter, it stands for write. This lets you open the file and write on it. Using the book example, you would be able to write your entire book at once. But the problem with this is whenever you use write, it deletes everything that was previously in that file. So it just overrides what existed in that file. Something to notice here is that when you call the function read, if the file doesn't already exist, it will give you an error and your program will not run. But the append and write modes, if the file doesn't exist, it will just create the file for you. Now we're going to talk about modes plus. So basically, it's the same modes that we had before, so R, A, and W. But if you add a plus to it, what you're saying is basically to open it for reading and writing. So now you can open the file as a read mode, but as you have the plus, you can also write to that file directly. You'll see that in some circumstances that this will make your life easier because it can shorten 3 or 4 lines of code. And it really helps when you're actually trying to make reading and writing to a file multiple times. Yeah. Now, something really important not to forget is you always have to close your files. This can be accomplished by doing f.close, then brackets. It's really important because when you close the file, it's when you're actually saving the information onto the file, and this will prevent your file from getting corrupted or having some issues in case other programs are trying to access the same file. So yeah, always close your files after you open them. Now we're going to move on to Python libraries. So in Python, libraries are essentially code repositories that they will make your life much easier, as they already come with a lot of predefined values and functions that you can use. I'll give you guys an example of this right now. So, for example, this is how you import the library in Python. It's as simple as just writing import and the name of the library. And an example of this using a library will be here. So as you can see, I'm importing the math library. And this math library gives me access to certain functions and values. So for example, here I'm taking advantage of the math.py. So it's already predefined in the library, the value of pi. So this way my program already knows the value to use, and I don't have to be writing it every single time manually. Some libraries that you're going to learn next time on the next workshop, as you're going to use them to perform the next workshop. One of them is going to be NumPy. NumPy is a library that provides a way to perform an assortment of routines for fast operations on arrays, including mathematical, logical, shape manipulation, sorting, selecting, linear algebra, statistical operations, random simulations, and much more. You will also use matplotlib. This is a library for creating static, animated, and interactive visualizations in Python. And you will also use pandas, which is a library that allows for data analysis and manipulation in Python. Now, if you guys are up for it, I would like to start the live coding. If you could all join this website, that should be in the chat at any moment. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give everyone a moment to just open the website. Okay, so when you're already logged into the website, what you're going to want to do is just press the new REPL button. You're going to select Python as the language, and let's call it workshop 2. And then you just create REPL. Okay, once already everyone's on this page, what you're going to want to do is go up here to add new file. And we're going to create, let's call it book.txt. That is going to be our book file. And just add whatever line you want to add to your book file. Let's say this is my first line. Yep. Now we go back to the main file, and we're gonna start by opening our book and trying to read the text that is inside our book. So f equals open. Our book is called book.txt. And we're gonna open this in read mode because we only want to read it. Now I can just print f.read. And yeah, now we can just f.close. Yeah. And yeah, so now if you try pressing the run button, this should output the text that it's in your book file. Just going to give a moment for everyone to do this. Okay, so now let's try adding a new line to our book. So we can do the same thing, f equals open, then go for the now we're gonna want to open this in, let's go for append mode. And what we're gonna want to do is f.write. Now let's do, this is the second line in my book. And now we can just copy and paste the first chunk of code to output the book again. Also, something that we might want to do is we might want to do the \n here. That is the Python code for line break to make sure that both lines are separate from each other. I'm just going to give a moment to everyone to catch up. Okay, now if we press the run button, hopefully this should read the file first. So it read, this is my first line. And then we added the second line to the file. And now it read, this is my first line, this is my second line. If you want as well, you can just open the book.txt file, and you'll see that it added a new line and it saved that file.
Sorry, could you please go back to the code?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll also zoom in to make it easier to see. Could you guys let me know in the chat when everyone has catched up? Does anyone have any questions so far? Or if you do, please let me know in the chat. Or yeah, you can just unmute and ask as well. Sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you. So I have a question. For example, if we remove a line from 11 to 13, and then we left only till 9 lines left, then it will not read our function, right? I mean, it will not read this is the second line in my book because we need to read function. Is it true?
So basically, okay, I can show you. So let's just comment this. So now I don't have this anymore. What you're gonna see is here on the console, it's just not gonna output the same thing. So when I run it again, it just reads the first time. Wait, we need to like put the book back to the original value. Yeah, so you're gonna see that it only outputs the first time that it reads the book, but it still adds the second line to the book. It just doesn't tell us on the console. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. It makes sense.
Does anyone else have any other question? If not, then I'm gonna keep going. So now what can we do with this? I guess we can just add some more lines to our book. So just copy paste this line a couple of times, and let's change this to third and fourth. Yeah, so now we're adding 3 new lines to our book. So if we try running it, it should still work. Yeah, our book has all the lines. Now, okay, yeah, now I'm going to also show you how you can read the lines from the book and basically do something with them. So what we can do is we can do, instead of print the lines, we can just mute this, and we can call this content equals read lines. So now we're basically reading all the lines from the book, and we're storing them in this variable called content. And now with content, we could just, for example, run a for cycle for line in content. And we just print line. This should pretty much do the same thing as we were doing before, just that instead of reading the whole, outputting the whole book at once, we're going line by line. So for example, we could, I'll show you this first. It's showing line by line. And now with this, what we could do, for example, is if line, what am I going to say, line equals.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you maybe go back to line 8? So basically, so you put f dot right.
Yeah.
Did you get that n there?
Oh, okay. So let me just check on the keyboard. So it should be, if you have a British keyboard, it should be right next to the arrow keys. It's called the backslash, I think. And what this basically means is this is a line break. Okay. So I can show you this really fast. Just if I do here print test, and I do print test. So we're going to print the word test 2 times, right? If I just run it like this, yeah, to if I run this like this, it's just going to put test test. If, for example, I do the \n here, it should give a line of spacing between the two tests. So it gives you this extra line here.
All right, yeah, I got it now. Thanks.
Did you manage to find it on your keyboard?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Do you guys want some time to catch up to the code, maybe?
Yeah, we need some time to catch up.
Okay, yeah. Just let me know when I should keep going.
By the way, if someone is also having problems with finding the backlash on the slash on the Mac, you just need to press Option Shift and 7. Just wanted to clarify if someone has a Mac.
Sorry, I have one quick question. I did manage to get the that thing with the N, but for some reason it doesn't turn out to be like that pinkish color, so it doesn't really work.
Could you try writing it in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the problem might be you might be doing the wrong side of it. So you also have this one. They look pretty similar. It's just that one is tilted to the left, the other one's tilted to the right. Yeah, so what you have to use is the one that's tilted to the left.
Okay, thank you. I'll still try it out a bit. Thank you.
Is anyone having any problems? Okay, so the line content equals f-read lines. No, so basically when you do f-read lines, what you're saying is basically read or grab every single line that you have on your file, and I'm equaling that to content. So in reality, when you're looking at this, what you should actually be seeing is that content is going to be a list, and it's going to have it's going to be a list that it's equal to something like this. This is going to be line 1, line 2, and so on, so on, so on. So yeah, basically what you're doing is you're grabbing every single line one by one, and you're putting them into a list called content. And then once you have the list called content, you can just pretty much do whatever you want with the lines on each list, on each line of the list, I mean. And that's what I was going to show after that. You can, for example, choose to not output a certain line, or you can do a lot of things. Really, you could reverse the list. So instead of showing the book from the beginning to the end, you could show it from the end to the beginning. Okay, so if everyone is ready now, I'm gonna keep going with the code. And actually going back to your question, that's actually a really good example. So here what we're gonna do instead of this is, since we already have the content list with all the lines, I'm gonna do content dot reverse. This is the built-in function for the lists in Python, and it will just reverse the order of the list. So now if I do this for cycle, so for each line in the content, and print each line one by one, now it should print the book from the end to the beginning. So when we run it, yeah, it starts with fourth, second, third, all the way to this is my first line. Now we can also, maybe I'm going to show you a bit how to use a library in Python. So as I had showed in the slides, all you have to do is write import, and let's use the random library. So this is a library in Python that allows you to get random numbers. So pretty much it's as if you were rolling the dice each time and getting a value out of it. Yeah, so, and now let's add some lines here. And what are we going to do? Okay, so let's do print, and let's say this is the lucky line. And then we're going to get a line from the out of our book, and let's just call it the lucky line. So whatever number the random lands on, it's going to be the line that we want to show off. Yeah, so for this, what we want to do is just print, and then this is a lucky line, and then we add a plus sign. So we're concatenating the strings. So we're joining two texts together. And now what we want is our list content. And now we put square brackets because we're trying to access the index. So we want to say, for example, if you put here the number 1, it will return the line number 1 in the list. Or in this case, something that you need to remember is that lists always start at 0. So in reality, 0 is the line number 1, 1 is the line number 2, 2 is the line number 3, and so on. Yeah, so now let's use the random library. So we can do random dot, what was I going to do? Random dot rand int. Now we can do from 0 to, so basically what we're doing here is we're generating a random number. And what we want a random number between 0, which is the minimum number of lines that you can have in your book, and the maximum number of lines that you have in your book. So the way that we get the maximum, basically the way that we get the number of lines that you already have in your book is we can use the len function. So it outputs the length of a list. And now we just do content. So pretty much what we're doing here is we're printing to the screen, this is a lucky line, and then we're adding the line in front of that text. So the line is going to be from the list content, and we want the line that is whatever random number this generates us between 0 and length of the content. I'm going to do length of the content -1 because we don't want the last line, because sometimes since we're adding the new lines, it adds a new line empty to the book, and that's just going to mess things up and print an empty line. So yeah, now if we try to run this, it should work. This is the lucky line, and it says this is the 4th line in the book. Now if we run this again, this is the lucky line, this is the 2nd line in the book. Every time you run the program, the random number, it's going to be a new random number. So that's the best way you have to get randomness in Python. Is everyone managing to follow along? Does anyone have any questions? You have expected indent block error. Okay. So yeah, so basically the way that Python works is by using indentation. So for example, if I do print something, so blah blah, this, it can be on the indentation 0, right? But for example, if I do if, so a condition, if 1 minus 1 equals 0, for example. Okay, this, that you have to do double equal. because we're comparing. So basically now you need to give a little space to the front, so a tab usually. So if you're at 0, you press tab 1 time, and now you're on indentation 1. And now you can do print 0. So basically what you want to make sure is that in this case, the only place where you could be getting that error is for the for. So after the for cycle, the first line has to be a bit pushed forward. So 1 tab should push it all the way forward. Let me know if that works for you. Do you want to just copy your entire code and post it on the chat, and I'll put it on my computer and check? Or actually, what I can do is, if your code is still not working, I'll just copy mine and I'll put it in the chat, and you can just replace yours. I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna work. Let me test this. Oh yeah, no, okay, don't copy my code, it's not gonna work. The chat removes the indentations. Let me try seeing if I can manage to. Okay, your code seems fine. Yeah, okay, so basically your problem is on this line. All you have to do is put the cursor before the print line, and you just press the tab. Yeah, this button on your keyboard, and it should push the print slightly forward. Oh, okay, that's good. Is anyone else having any problems, or can I keep going?
I think you could go forward for now. I mean, if people are still behind, could you maybe raise your hand or something?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Okay, so we've used the library. Now, what else can we do? Okay, so now I'm going to show how to create a dictionary, for example, to store our book. So what we can do is we start by writing the name of the dictionary, so book, and we're going to equal it to whatever these things are called. I'm not curly brackets, yeah. And we're going to start adding things. So our book is going to need a title. So we can do title, then 2 dots, and the value. So we're going to leave this blank for now because we're just making a generic book. We're going to need, oh, forgot the comma. We're going to need powder, and we also do the same thing. We are going to need, let's store the length of the book as well, so that we can access it anytime, and let's leave it at 0. And then let's make the text. No, okay, so we're gonna leave the text as a list. So now that we have our book dictionary created, we can do things. Such as let me just have a look, and yeah, okay. So we can do book.update, and we're going to update the values in our book. So we can do title, and we're going to say that the title for our book is going to be my first Python book. Then we can do the same thing for all the other fields. So book.update, curly brackets, and so here, as we want the length of the book, we're already calculating it by using the length function again of the content, just so we keep track of it. And we can do book.update, and what else do we need? We need a text. This is going to be equal to our content. I guess to speed things up, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the chat. If anyone is feeling lazy and doesn't want to type all of this, you can just copy it, or if anyone's having any problems. Please let me know in the chat when you guys have catched up, or if anyone has any questions.
Sorry, why we do need function book.update? It's like to update the name.
Okay, so in dictionaries, so for example, we already created the dictionary book, right? So this is a dictionary that we called book, and it has a title, an author, a length, and a text. In this case, whenever you want to change a value, so for example, here length is equal to 0, right? So as we want to change it, what we want to actually do is we want to update that value. So we do book.update, and then we provide the new. We have to say what's the key and which value do we want to put in that key. So in the length field, we want to keep the new length of the content. It's going to override the 0 and replace it by something else.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other question?
Yeah, for me it says indentation error, unexpected indent.
Where does it say that?
On the screen, like the black screen on the right, instead of like.
Does it tell you which line it is in? Problem?
Line 31. Oh yeah, okay. So I can actually see the line that the error is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Didn't know that, sorry.
And if it's indentation error, it's probably just a tab that's missing. Just need to give it a space.
Sorry, I have EOL while scanning string literal F.
Wait, let me run the code first to make sure that my code runs. Okay, mine runs. What does your error say?
It's like EOL while scanning string literal.
Could you share your screen?
It says
maybe.
Yep, of course. And
Okay, add title EOL while scanning.
and this line 29 is here.
Wait, can you go a bit back with the camera?
Go back to this one.
Oh, okay, so you forgot to close the title. So you have to, the word title needs to be between two apostrophes, if that's what it's called, I think.
This one.
The double quotation marks, yeah.
I see.
Now it should be fine.
Yep. And sorry, when we write book.update, we have two brackets. It's like just brackets of the function. Why we have two brackets? Like the usual one and also another one.
Yeah, so basically the normal ones, normal brackets, this is whenever you call any function. So in this case, the function update, that's already provided by Python for the dictionary collections. Every function in Python always has to have the normal brackets. And then this inside is just, you're defining, how am I going to explain this? So basically, it's to define that it's an object of book. So it needs to be inside of the curly brackets. It's just a matter of formatting that Python requires you to use. Because if you were to just put the two values, then the update would read it as a title and my first Python book. And if you put them between the curly brackets, it takes all of it as if it was one single block. Amanda,
Okay.
do you have a question? You have your hand raised.
Yes, one quick question.
Yeah.
This might be a stupid question, but I was just wondering, like, this actually worked, so I put in everything and there's no error, which is good. But I was just curious, why does it not show anything on like the screen to the right, like the black or dark part? Because usually, like when we put something in, it comes like when we run the code, it comes
Yeah.
up on the right side. Why does it not do that with the book function?
Okay, so whenever you want to write to the console screen, you have to write the print. So you had to put print something something, and it will print whatever you want. Here, we're not actually printing anything to the string. We're just creating an object called book that has a title, an author, a length, a text. And we're just saving those things internally. So we're not trying to show this yet. But after, if you guys don't mind staying here for 5 extra minutes, I was going to show you how to get your book published, per se. So just create another file for the book. Yeah, so I'll just go over the next bit really fast. So now, since we already have this, we can do, let's open a new file. Oh, there's text. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna start by opening a file, and we're gonna do open, and this time we're going to do book.get, and we're gonna get the title. Yeah, and we're gonna do this as writing mode. So basically what we're doing now is we're opening a new file that doesn't exist yet with the title of our book. And since we're using the write mode, if the file doesn't exist yet, it will create the file for you. After that, we can do a for line in book.get. And now we need to get the text of the book. Text. So basically the .get function, it's a function of the dictionary, and you just have to write name of the dictionary, .get, and then you put the value of the dictionary that you want to get. So in this case, we want the text, so it's going to return us all the text that we have inside there. So now we can just do f.write. This should like write the line, each line individually. Now I guess we also want to add some of our own text to end the book. We can do f.write. Oh. Brackets, open the things. Now we can do the, yeah. Let's make 2 empty lines. Let's do number of lines. Now we're going to append to this the number of the lines. We'll give it an extra space there. So string, because it's going to be an int, and we have to convert into string. So whenever we're adding we want to add 2 pieces of text. If one of them is a number, we usually have to put str and write that number between the brackets so that it's converted to string, and then it can be added. We can add 2 strings. So pretty much the number is interpreted as text instead of a number. And now, yeah, does anyone have a question? So now we just do book.get, and we want book.get, and we'll get the length. Yeah, this should be fine. Now we can do f.write. Let's put our names as well. Order and let's do a plus. Book.get. Okay, this should work. Don't forget to close your files. I have to close. And this text should work now. So to sum up, we need to add string when there are combinations of words and numbers. Pretty much sometimes yes, other times no. So the way that it works is whenever you're writing text, if you start by writing a string and then, so for example, number of lines, and then after you put the add sign, the plus sign, Python is going to expect what's written after to be a string, so it's going to expect it to be a text. So in case that is, for example, an int or any other type of numbers, usually it's always better to convert it to string before to make sure that you don't get any issues with your code. But yeah, now if we run our code, it should generate a new file on the left side. Oh, and it's not generating a new file. No such file or directory with the first name Python book. Oh, that is a problem. Title, right. Okay. So this should be working, but I guess that it's the platform itself that doesn't let us do this. So I guess we need to manually create the file called. Oh, wait. My first Python book.txt. Maybe that's the problem. That's not the problem. So yeah, basically we have to create the file manually first. And now if you run this, not writable. What am I forgetting here? My mind. Oh, is it? Thank you, Eric. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, okay, now it works. So basically you have to pull this bit out of the parentheses. So now if you open the My First Python book, you have all of your lines here. And then at the end, it has the number of lines and it has the author and your name. Does anyone have any questions about this last part?
So I just wanted to ask quickly, for this library thing, how is it then usually applied in a business context? Like, for example, is this just like a beginner kind of thing, or is there like really use for this in general?
Okay, so here we are using we're just using like the random library, right?
Yeah.
But going back to the libraries that I said that you would learn in the next workshop, hopefully. So for example, matplotlib That library allows you to make proper visualizations of your data, so you can make graphs and for example, you can make a graph with like a certain value, and then you can have a slider that like when you slide it, it automatically updates the graph. So you can make more visual things out of your data.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sorry, how to break out f function, for function, like previous my problem was with the tab function. So now I see that there are two loops which shouldn't be existed.
Where is it giving you the error?
Can I show?
Is it on this for or
like this one? I see that they shouldn't be exist like this one. How can
can you go a bit down?
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, okay, so the only
I tried backspace, but it doesn't work. Like
oh, okay, so
no.
usually you just want to delete that space as if you're erasing a character. Yeah, and if you press it again, yeah. Right, so if no one else has any other questions, just gonna go to the slides again so we can finish this because we're already 15 minutes outside of the time limit. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Also, I think it's already been put in the chat, but if you guys could fill in the feedback form, that would be helpful so that we can improve for our next future events. Promise it won't take more than 1 or 2 minutes of your time. And for the next event, I believe it's going to happen next Wednesday, 17th of March, same time as usual. It's also going to be on Microsoft Teams. This time it's going to be on Python for data visualization. And yeah, stay tuned on our socials as we will be posting more information about it.
Yeah, and obviously we will put this session, the recording, on our website. I think you guys are gonna put it in your, I don't know how you're gonna share it, but we're gonna put the recording on our website so the members can access it later and go over the session on their own time as well.
Sultan, do you have a question?
Yes, sorry, I have a quick question. So just to sum up, firstly, we worked with the set numbers, right? And then you showed us book function. It's like type of dictionary, right?
So yeah, it's a dictionary.
Yeah, and
the function is not called book itself. It's just you're creating a dictionary called book.
Yeah, I see. And the first part of our coding session was devoted to the set function, right? To the set, how it's list.
Yeah,
Like,
the beginning we
firstly, you
use list. Yeah.
Yeah, list that it is list dictionary, and okay, thank you. And the second question is, I think you wanted to show us if function, right? So that I just realized that I can try to use coding in my work because I have some files where there is repetitive information, and I just need to change some data.
Yeah.
And as far I understood, I can use it with the if function. So I need to mm, I need to show like if statement if this some like there is some data, and then to which data I need to substitute.
Yeah, so the way you would actually go about that is you would make an if function, then you would put your condition. So
Mhm.
whatever your condition is. So if, for example, you can make another separate function where you go through and you check if it has the number 3 on it. For example, when you say if this line has 3, then just delete it or don't do anything with it and just show the other lines, for example.
Okay, I got it. Thank you for the session, for your effort. Thank you very much.
Hope you all enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you for delivering the session. It was very informative. I learned a lot for myself. I'm not a very Python, big on Python, but at least I'm learning something. So thanks, guys.
Something else, if anyone on your free time, if you go back to the code and if you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord server and just post them in the chat. One of us will probably try to answer it as best as we can and try to help you guys with it.
That's great. Right. I think from our part, EBS part, is if there's no questions directed to us, I think we are happy to conclude the event. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Right. Are you gonna stop the recording?
Yeah.